Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome to my comparison between the HTC One M8 and the Sony Xperia Z2. These are flagship devices from two major phone companies, HTC and Sony. So in this comparison video, I will help you decide which one is the best choice for you. So let's go ahead and get started with this comparison. I actually made a detailed video review of these two devices, so be sure to check out these videos. I'll put it in the description of this video. So first, let's talk about the build quality of these two devices. Of course, on the HTC One, it's known for its aluminum, sturdy, high quality finish. The brushed metal finish on the back really looks quite nice, and it feels great in the hand. It's a really nice size, but the only downside is that it feels quite slippery in the hand because of the aluminum finish. Overall, the design and the build quality on the HTC One is top-notch, and it's definitely my favorite design on any smartphone right now. On the other hand, the Sony Xperia Z2 is made out of glass. This has two panels of glass on the front and on the back. Of course, the entire device is not made out of glass. On the edges, you will find some plastic and some aluminum bands. It's a very unique design, and the only downside about this glass back is that it easily attracts fingerprints. Now let's move on to the display or the screen quality of these two devices. The Xperia Z2 has a 1080p HD display, 5.2 inches at 442 pixels per inch. It's a very high pixel density screen, and the color representation is also very accurate. For the HTC One M8, this also has a 1080p HD display, but this only has a 5-inch screen size, not a huge difference, just 0.2 inch smaller, but this has a higher pixel density of 441. Because of the high resolution, great colors, and viewing angle on these two screens, it's quite difficult for me to choose which one is better. But the only difference I noticed between these two devices was that the HTC One M8 could go up to a slightly higher maximum brightness. Alright, now let's move on to the specs of these devices. On the HTC One, you will find a Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 quad-core 2.3 GHz processor with the Adreno 330 GPU and 2 GB of RAM. On the other side, the Xperia has the same processor, the Snapdragon 801, with the same GPU of Adreno 330, but this has 3 GB of RAM. So they have very similar specs, and the performance on both devices are excellent. On my HTC One M8, I'm not running on the Sense 6.0 skin, which is the default HTC skin. I'm currently running the Nova launcher that I downloaded from the Google Play Store. I customized it to my liking, and if you want to see my What's on my Android phone video, where I showed you some of my widgets, my launchers, wallpapers, icon packs, be sure to check out that video. I'll put it in the video description. On the Sony Xperia Z2, this is running the default Sony skin, and reading some of the comments on my full review of the Xperia Z2, I noticed that a lot of you guys don't like the skin on Sony devices. But in my opinion, it's not that bad. Overall, it's very snappy and very quick. And you get a bunch of really nice looking wallpapers, and also you can choose between different themes to apply to your device. But if you're like me, you should definitely look for some custom launchers in the Google Play Store. I really enjoy using Nova Launcher and Action Launcher. Anyways, let's move on to the battery life, which is a very important aspect of any smartphone. The good news here is both devices have excellent batteries. The HTC One M8 has a 2600 mAh battery. The Sony Xperia has a slightly larger battery capacity at 3200 mAh, and in settings, they provide some really useful battery saving modes, and they actually work quite well. So in conclusion, I have no issues with the battery life on these two devices. Now moving on, if you're a person that likes to listen to music on your phone speakers, then there's a big difference between these two devices. Even though the Xperia Z2 has front-facing speakers, it honestly doesn't sound as good as the front-facing boom sound speakers on the HTC One. So comparing these two speakers side by side, it's very clear that the HTC One has better speakers. Now let's move on to the next category, which the HTC One is not going to survive. You guessed it, it is the waterproof and dust resistant features on the Xperia Z2. I made a separate water test video of the Xperia Z2, so be sure to check out that video. So yeah, this device is waterproof, so you can take this device to the shower, go to the swimming pool, and you can even record videos underwater for a short amount of time. The water video test of the Sony Xperia Z2. Let's go underwater right now. So if you often get water into your phones or your devices, you should definitely choose this over the HTC One M8. A really nice feature on both devices is that they both feature micro SD card storage expansion. So if you run out of internal storage, you can always get a micro SD card up to 128 gigabytes and put it inside these two devices and get extra storage. Before moving on to the microphone and the camera, let's first take a look at the sponsor for this video. This video is brought to you by Ting. Ting is a mobile service that makes sense. If you decide to join, there are no contracts to sign, and if you choose to leave, you don't have to pay any early termination fees. And they offer great prices, really affordable rates. You can go to their website and check out the savings calculator, and you can calculate how much you will be saving if you switch over to Ting. And also, you pay for what you use for. So for example, 1 month you use less minutes or less data, you're actually going to pay less money for that month. You also get unlimited devices with one account, and they have a bunch of different new devices from the Galaxy S5, the Note 3, the HTC One M8, and a bunch of other awesome smartphones you can choose. Or if you have your own smartphone, you can just bring that in. And if you have any questions, you can simply email them and they have excellent customer service. So be sure to check out kfhd.ting.com, and if you use my link or my URL, you get $20 off on a new device that you purchase or to a new Ting service. So be sure to use kfhd.ting.com and save some money, and you can also support my videos. Alright, so let's move on to the camera comparison between these two phones. On the HTC One M8, you will get a 4 ultra-pixel camera on the back, and this has a secondary camera on top of the main camera on the back. To find out more detail about how that camera works and what it does and some of the features that this secondary camera brings, be sure to check out my full review of the HTC One. Again, links will be in the description. For the Sony Xperia Z2, you will find a 20.7 megapixel camera on the back. That is if you shoot with manual mode, because in auto mode, you can only take 8 megapixel pictures. You can record 1080p HD videos on both devices, but on the Xperia Z2, you can record 4K videos, which is a huge plus. So here are some of the images I took with these two devices. As you can see, pictures on the Xperia tend to be a lot more sharper because of the higher megapixel. So when you zoom in, it's still going to be quite sharp and very clear. So looking at these images, I noticed that the HTC One M8 has more saturated colors, more contrast, whereas the Sony Xperia Z2 has more flat colors, so it's great for post-production, photo editing, and color correction. But if I have to choose a camera to use, I would definitely go with the Sony Xperia Z2. And here are some 1080p HD videos. So here's a quick front-facing video test. So as you can see, the HTC One has a wider angle, so it's great for, of course, selfies and also Skype chats and video chats, stuff like that. The Xperia seems to have a bit of a warmer color and not as wide as the HTC One M8. So let me know in the comments which one do you prefer. So yeah, this basically concludes my comparison between these two flagship devices, the HTC One M8 and the Sony Xperia Z2. Thanks a lot for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Let's try to reach 1,000 likes on this video. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for future videos. Thanks a lot for watching once again, and I'll see you in my next video.